3, 2, 1. What's going on, guys? It's Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, frontproofmedia.com, back this week after a wild and very controversial week. You guys all got to hear what my reaction was to UFC 208. If this is your first time tuning in to Pure Evil MMA and our odd show, man, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at Pure Evil MMA. We got a crazy weekend right here. You know, Saturday we got Bellator, the return of the legend Fedor Emelianenko against Matt Mitrione, and then Sunday, guys, not Saturday, but Sunday, UFC is returning to Halifax. I actually just got to interview Paul Felder, who's going to be on this card. We're going to be breaking it down for you guys, giving you guys all the odds. And, if we got any listeners that are on Tapology, UFC Pick'em, or if you're even going to be placing some bets, going out to the bars, or you just want to have some information about the fights, you don't even have to be betting. We're going to give you everything that you need to know. Today, joining me once again on the Odd Show, we got Garrett Kerman from the MMA Takeover. What's going on, Garrett?
Hey, what's going on, man? Glad to be back.
And, before we start anything off, man, where can our listeners find you?
You guys can follow me at Garrett K MMA on Twitter. Also, you can check out my articles at the MMATakeover.com. Also, give them a follow on Twitter at the MMA Takeover.
So, man, the one thing that we really stress on all of you guys tuning in today is if you do not have enough money to really risk, say for instance you got $100 left in your bank account, your landlord is hounding you for it, but you got this big fight coming up tonight and you want to put all your money down on Johnny Hendricks or whatever, and I don't recommend we'll get into that in a second. But seriously, if you do not have enough money, guys, that really takes the fun out of the sport, takes the fun out of the night. So if you don't have it, Garrett, what do we say?
Always to wager responsibly, wager within your own means, don't bet more than what you have, and have good bankroll management.
So, all right, man, let's rewind really quick to last weekend. We were talking about Germaine de Randamie versus Holly Holm. Really fun matchup. It was supposed to be a really special night, but man, that was turned sour by a couple of late shots brought by Germaine de Randamie, which arguably rocked Holly Holm. And did she not just do this one time? She actually did it twice, and a lot of people out there are angry about it. So it's kind of been setting up the hero in Cyborg, like the good guy side of Cyborg, which we really haven't seen before in the past. I mean, outside the octagon, Cyborg's a sweetheart, like I say all the time, but inside the octagon, she's fierce and kind of the bad girl that walks around beating up girls, sending them to Hollywood like Gina Carano. Now we're kind of seeing another side where everyone's like, we want Cyborg back in there because Germaine did something dirty to Holly. She's a dirty fighter. Well, how is she going to fight when Cyborg steps in there? So, it's kind of setting up this masked role, man. Did you enjoy last weekend's fights?
Yeah, of course. They're all good. Obviously, my favorite was the Poirier Miller fight, but I mean the main event was kind of exciting in its own ways as well. Silva Brunson, also a great fight. It was a great overall card.
That was another controversial card. And if you guys want to hear what my reaction was, all you got to do is subscribe down below and check it out. It's right there, UFC 208 Reaction, here on iTunes and Podbean. And if you guys are listening to this on YouTube, subscribe down below. Every Wednesday night, me and Ted Check go at it with some UFC banter, live open chat room. We always have some special guests on. And guys, got to speak with Paul Felder, who's going to be fighting on this card. I'm excited about this one. Let's jump right into the mix. Garrett, we're going to start from the bottom, and you know what we like to do. We give everybody the quick odds of tonight and whether they got their UFC Pick'em open right now or their Tapology account, and they're going to be making their picks with us tonight. Let's start from the very bottom here. There's a lot of exciting fighters on this card. But starting it off, we got Mershart versus James. What are the odds here?
Mershart is a minus 295 favorite, pretty heavy there, and Ryan James is a plus 265 underdog.
This is actually both of these guys' second fight in the UFC, so we don't really know too much about either guy. I mean, Gerald did some great grappling in his last fight. He's a young fighter, but you like to see these guys up against some higher competition. Yeah, it's their second fight in here. Ryan James, man, I think I'm leaning towards him. 9-1 record, and he really surprised me in that Keith Barish fight. So, what were the odds one more time here?
The let's I apologize. Hold on. Yeah, Marchard is a minus 295 favorite, where Ryan James is a plus 265 underdog. Pretty heavy odds for just guys that just started in the UFC. I mean, they have Marchard is pretty heavily favored. If I were to, wager on either one, I'd probably go with the favorite here. I really don't know too much about each fighter. I'm kind of laying off this one as, like I said, I really don't know too much as they're new to the UFC, and it being such a crazy line, I would probably, if I was doing like a UFC
Play it
pick
safe. Yeah.
yeah, if I was doing UFC Pick'em or Tapology, I would probably go with Mershart there for sure.
I mean, just based off these guys' last two fights, it's most likely going to be a grappling match, and we're not going to pay too much attention to some of the lower cards unless they really catch our eye. So moving forward, I think I'm going to side with you on that one as well. I don't think it's going to be the most exciting fight you're going to see, but it's going to start things off. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to go with the favorite here as well. Gerald Mershart. So moving forward, after that, we got Santos versus Marshman. Santos 13-5 going against Marshman 21-5. What are the odds here, Garrett?
Well, Marshman is a plus 160 underdog, while Santos is a minus 170 favorite.
One thing I like about Jack, he's a durable fighter. He's got really good boxing. He's on a one-fight win streak. It's only his second fight in the UFC as well. So once again, with these free cards, guys, you're really kind of seeing the new age or the fighters that they're giving a shot that were champions in Titan FC or Valor fights or something like that. You're usually seeing those kind of guys on the early fights. But, this is another throw-up that I don't really know what you guys think, but I like Santos in this one. So didn't you just say he was the underdog here?
No, Santos is actually the favorite here at minus 170. Marshman is the underdog at plus 160.
Yeah, his high kick, man. Watch out for that in this fight. But he's also coming off a couple of losses, but to very tough guys. I mean, he's definitely the more veteran fighter here. I mean, he's fought Gegard Mousasi. He's fought Nate Marquardt. He's even fought Elias, who's on this card, Theodoro. But his last loss was to the young gun, Eric Spicely. I don't know if you guys remember that, but Eric was so overwhelmed with emotion there. He really needed the win. He got it over Thiago. I was surprised, man. Thiago was a huge favorite to win this fight. It's kind of weird to see him all the way down here as the second fight of the night, man. So, right off the bat, I'm sticking with what I know here. And I got Santos, but this will be a huge win for Marshman to get under his record. Moving forward, we got Zahabi versus Vieira. What are the odds here, brother?
Zahabi, as a newcomer here in his UFC debut, is a minus 235 favorite, where Vera is a plus 215 underdog.
Vera's a really well-rounded fighter here. Familiar face guys, obviously fighting from Brazil. I love his boxing style. He's great all around, though. Like his Muay Thai, his Jiu-Jitsu, everything's up to point. But he's also coming off a loss as well. This is only his third fight in the UFC. So it's another weird one. And everyone's excited about Zahabi coming in, of course. I'm going to go with Zahabi here. I'm going to take Zahabi just because of what I know in relation to who Zahabi is. I don't really know how he's going to do in this one, but I'm going to take the chance of Zahabi on this.
Yeah, same here. Zahabi, I think, is one of my favorite plays on the night. I mean, Vegas doesn't give you a newcomer, a rookie that's minus 235 coming into his first UFC fight for no reason. I mean, there's a lot of hype behind Zahabi for sure because of, where he fights out of TriStar Gym in Canada. His brother is a very well-known coach as well. He's 6-0. He has He's finished every one of his opponents. Vera in all four of his losses, he's been finished by submission and knockout. I mean, I love Zahavi here in any which way. I would take him minus 235. I would take him to win inside distance, where you're looking at a plus 157 line, which is pretty good. I feel he's going to go in there and absolutely dominate Vera for sure.
So moving forward on this one, yeah, man, I like that, by the way. And, I want to know what you guys think about this out there that are listening. Make sure you let us know on Twitter at Pure Evil MMA. Garrett, what's your Twitter really quick?
That's Garrett K MMA. That's Garrett
MMA. That's pretty simple, man. I mean, a lot of people it's confusing because their Instagram's different than their Snapchat, and their Snapchat's different than their Twitter, and it's like, oh man, hold on, let me grab a pen. You know what I mean? So that's easy. Garrett K MMA. All right, so this one I'm excited for. We got a WMMA fight coming up. The former champ Carla Esparza, the Cookie Monster, going up against Ronda Marcos, fighting out of Canada. I'm excited for this one. We all know and are very familiar with Carla. She's still at number 3 right now, which is kind of surprising considering she hasn't fought in she fights like once a year, it feels like. And we're all familiar with her from that season of Ultimate Fighter, beating Rose Namajunas, who's still in the shadows. But, Joanna Jędrzejczyk coming over and just smashing her, and she really hasn't been the same since that moment. So I'm rooting for her here. But Randa is a great matchup for her as well, simply because she's a hot and cold fighter. She's been in the UFC for a while, 6-5 record. Not really anything to really gawk at right off the bat, but Randa Marcos is no easy target at all. She's got heart, determination, she's got grappling, and we don't really know what to expect from Carla. I mean, she did great in her last fight. She's still a young fighter, former champion. She beat Juliana Lima, but before that, when she lost the belt to Joanna, it was like heart-crushing to see that. I'm rooting for the comeback here. What are the odds here, Garrett?
Carla Esparza is a pretty heavy favorite here at minus 265, where Ronda is a plus 245 underdog.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Who are you leaning towards for this one?
I would say Esparza goes in there and takes her down at will. There's really not much else to it. I don't think Ronda really has much to really stop Carla from taking her down. Ronda has good stand up, but I don't see her being able to stand up and and trade with her. She's gonna push the pace, get up the cage, just take her down, and either ground and pound or submit her, any which way.
She's always going for that, and Randa's definitely gonna wrap her up. I'm sure they're ready for that game plan. I'm excited for this one because Carla really needs another win, and if she does, she's still in third. But it even proves even more that we could see her definitely in the spotlight once again sometime in the near future. So I'm going Carla. This would be a huge win for Randa Marcos. I mean, she has the hometown advantage, don't forget. She's fighting out of Canada, so she's a huge favorite at home, and we know how that can play in, especially if you're an emotional fighter. I mean, that could make you even, that could either make you rise to the moment or kind of crash. If you're in the first round, you get punched in the face or taken down a couple of times, it can really crash, and the pressure's on here. I mean, Randa really needs a win. This is a big fight for her. I'm rooting for both girls. I love them both, but I got Carla to win this one. She knows it. So let's move forward. We got Taylor versus Ponzinibbio, who's a huge favorite of mine, guys. Not many people out there know who Ponzinibbio is. Huge in the underground scene, obviously. We're very familiar with him. He's a young gun, and I think he's going to be in this division for a while, really whipping some ass. He's on a big win streak right now, on a 3-fight win streak, and this is a tough division. Beating Zach Cummins, beating Court McGee. I mean, what are the odds here? I mean, I'd really be surprised Ponzinibbio isn't the favorite here.
Yeah, Ponzinibbio is definitely the second largest favorite on the night at minus 360. Where Taleb is definitely a big underdog at plus 325.
He's a tough son of a gun, Ponzinibbio. So this isn't going to be an easy fight, but the striking of Taleb is something to note here. His last fight with Eric Silva last March was exciting. Silva was kind of shy in that one because the fight before that, he got into a shootout and he was giving his hand out to be like, oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to give you that cheap shot. And then he tried to give another cheap shot and got caught and knocked out. So we kind of saw like a very gun shy Silva in that fight. So I don't really know what to expect here, but this isn't going to be easy for Taleb. I'm going with Ponzinibbio on this one. A great guy inside and outside the octagon. All right, Paul Felder, the Irish Dragon, going against Ricci here. What are the odds? I'll break into it. I got to speak with Paul. What's it looking like here, man?
Paul Felder's a minus 325 favorite, where Ricci is a plus 295 underdog.
Very similar records, and you guys know this. I hate going by stats. I really do, and you're not going to hear a single stat from me today. I promise. Paul Felder, I'm excited about this. He, called into the studio the other day. You guys can hear it on iTunes, Podbean, and also on YouTube. Every time he goes in for a fight, he always picks out a beer that he wants afterwards. And he told me that he has Duke Rufus in his corner, who's also a big beer fan. Another little quick fun fact about our interview, he's going to be wearing a mouth guard that says F cancer on it for everybody out there that's lives been affected by cancer. And believe it or not, guys, Paul Felder doesn't have a scar on his face from his last fight. I don't know. Did you catch his last fight, Garrett, against Francisco Trinaldo last September?
No, I wasn't able to catch up on that.
Well, going into that, I actually talked to him before that fight as well, down in Brazil. He got cut open huge on his face. The ref would not let him go, or the doctor wouldn't let him go anymore. And somehow he didn't have a scar on his face from that. Healed up quick, is ready to get back in there. And when he was coming out from when he got picked up to come to the UFC, he was the champion. He was undefeated. He's had a couple of fights now in the UFC, winning his first two. But that fight with Edson Barboza, you guys all know how close that one. That one was very close, so that was frustrating. Then again, he lost against Ross Pearson in another extremely close fight. So there's no luck there on that, and that's definitely frustrating because in the UFC, you lose two in a row. The stress is really on. You're getting nervous, man. You're like looking around you like, what do I need to change? Am I wearing the wrong brand of T-shirts? I mean, you're looking for anything. So he was able to get a win after that against Croshank and another win against Berkman. So there you go. You got two more wins. You're kind of safe. But the last fight, man, and it was a big one for Paul because he wanted to get on those rankings so bad against Ronaldo. Going down to Brazil, right off the bat, the UFC was like, you can only bring two guys with you. We're not paying for a third guy, which is huge, man, because you're training with a team. You want the right guys in your corner, especially if you're not fighting at home. You're going to a different country. You don't speak the language or whatever. You're going to fight a guy who's a huge favorite. And the ref stopped it. It's not because he was getting his ass beat, but it's because there was a huge cut on his head. So this is a big fight for Paul, and I think it's a great matchup. The kicking game and the pressure that Paul brings onto Ricci in this one is going to be huge. Angie Jabs just came in, giving me my Bart Simpson sticker. I've been trying to hound her for it for a while now. Thanks, babe. I appreciate that. But Alessandro Ricci, man, he's a well-rounded fighter. So we're going to see what he has to do. What are the odds here?
The odds still are pretty favored in Felder's way. Minus 325, and Ricci's still like a 3-1 underdog.
This is big for Felder, man. He made the changes he needed to make, going with Duke Rufus down in Albuquerque, New Mexico. If you guys don't know where that is or who he is, he's trained champions like John Bones Jones, Holly Holmes, Diego Sanchez. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, Paul being from Philly, he's a Philly guy. He was the champion at one point. He has some brutal leg kicks. This is going to be an exciting one. I think Paul's really going to show off here on this one. And if Ricci wins, man, that's huge for him, beating the former champ. Felder's expectations were so high coming into the UFC, so I'm excited to see what happens. But without a doubt, man, I'm going for Paul. I think that's the safe one here. Moving forward, Sarah McMahon, who also came into the UFC with high expectations. While we're talking about that, Jesus, going up against Mazzani. So, what are the odds here?
Sarah McMahon is the biggest favorite on the night at minus 600.
Wow.
And Mazzani is a plus 450 underdog.
I don't know how much you guys know about Sarah McMahon. She was in the Olympics, silver medalist in the Olympics. When she was brought over to the UFC, it was to beat Ronda Rousey. We all know how that one went. Besides that, I mean, she's been matched up with some of the best talent in that division, in that bantamweight division. Her wrestling's on point. Beating Alexis Davis, beating Jessica Evil Eye, who's been in kind of a rut lately. I love Jessica. I hope I get her on the show soon. But, her last loss was to the former champion, freaking Amanda. And the loss before that was to the former champion, Miesha Tate. And, beating people like Lauren Murphy. But you got 3 champions you lost to. It's not like she's everyone else she's beat. She's only lost to Ronda, Amanda, and Miesha. So if you're a rookie coming in here, this is your first fight, and you're stepping up in the octagon against freaking an Olympian and Sarah McMahon. This isn't easy, and this will be huge. This girl's undefeated, so she might not only face her first loss. I mean, you got to think about what the mindset is here, really, because she can easily psych herself out, right, Garrett?
No, definitely. I mean, it's going to be a very tall task for her. Like I said, she only has 4 fights under her belt. She's only fought twice in the last 3 years. She doesn't fight very often. First fight in the UFC, she gets one of the biggest veterans out there. Fought forever. She's fought some of the stiffest competition. She's only fighting on 2 weeks' notice. I believe she missed weight as well. That doesn't really help her cause either. I feel McMahon's just gonna go in there and absolutely dominate her. But since McMahon likes to grind out her opponents, she's not a big finisher. I would take her by decision, where she's finished 50% of her fights, and that's a pretty good line there at -104. Brings down that -600 all the way down to a -104, which is very doable when you're trying to bet and not have to bet so heavy. But even throwing McMahon in a parlay would definitely help for sure.
And again, Garrett, for our listeners out there that don't know what parlay means, or they're not used to like the betting terms, can you just brush up on that?
Yeah, a parlay is when you would put multiple teams or fighters into one play, giving you greater odds. So say you put 3 fighters together into one play, all 3 fighters must win. That gives you substantially better odds than just to bet on one fighter.
Listen, if she's winning this fight, let's get back into the talk. I'm going to open up a little more. We kind of brushed through, the undercard. Really, I mean, we're still on the undercard, aren't we? But, McMahon is a familiar name. I'm going to kind of open up with this one because I love this matchup, and I want to kind of, set the vibe for this one. Like we said, Mancy's coming in here undefeated, 4-0. She's never tasted a loss before in her career. She gets the call to come to the UFC. Now, she could be psyching herself out, or she could use this to kind of fuel her. I mean, stepping into the octagon against McMahon. If you get this win, you're automatically in the rankings. Now, we see a lot of pressure when you get a debut fighter walking into the octagon. You don't know if they're used to that. You walk in, you smell beer and popcorn. People are screaming in your face. You're walking out to your walkout song, and the vibe just sets in there. You hear it in everybody's stories. I don't know if you guys are big on reading, fighter stories, but it's from a veteran to a rookie, you're always going to feel that little stomach drop making your walkout. Here, this is huge. The women always come to scrap, and I really expect an exciting first round. This girl could surprise everybody. If she goes in there and just scraps with McMahon, what do we know about this girl? Not much, but in her last fight, we saw that she likes pushing the pressure. Push the pressure on Sarah McMahon. It could be really good for you, or really bad, because she's going to tire you out. The second that she grabs your arms, she's not letting go. She's going to try to grind you out, really. I expected an exciting first round, but after that, I think Sarah's just going to smother her. What do we see in all of McMahon's fights? What got her to the dance, like everybody says? It's the wrestling game. So I'm looking forward to this being a little striking match in the beginning, and then McMahon kind of just wearing her down. That's what I expect here. But if it's a win, man, it's huge for this girl.
For sure. Definitely I got McMahon in this one. But when it comes to this sport, it's very unpredictable. Anything can happen at any given time. It takes one jab, one uppercut, one punch can end anybody's night, no matter how heavy of a favorite you are, how heavy of an underdog you are. Anything could possibly happen.
Sarah's, no knockoff for her or anything. I mean, she's a little older now. I mean, she's not the girl from Titan or Invicta. I don't know. I think it's going to be exciting round. I'm definitely, obviously, going with Sarah, but I really like this matchup. I like this girl that she's fighting. And you got to remember, when you're undefeated, you have a certain mindset. So it could all work in her favor. It could be a magical night for this girl, and that's certainly a way to get your foot in the door. All right, moving forward, we got the cutie that everyone loves. Every female MMA fan goes wild for Elias and his hair and his shocking good looks. Well, he's going in there against Fiera. What are the odds in this one?
It's pretty close, actually. Fiera is a minus 118 favorite, where Elias is a plus 108 underdog.
So, again, before I even open my mouth up about any of this fight, pretty much like below 200. Like, can you explain the odds a little bit to everybody?
Well, when it comes to favorites and underdogs, I mean, when you're, let's say this example, minus 118, for you to win $100, you have to put up $118 to win 100. If you bet $100 on Elias at plus 108, you're gonna win $108. So for every $100 you bet on Elias, you win 108. So 200, you're winning 216. And so on and so forth.
When Elias came in here 3 years ago, he took the UFC by storm. Oh, everyone went nuts for him. I was excited for him winning his first three fights in there. But then he got to Thiago Santos, who's also on this card. Remember, he was the second fight. That was his first loss in the UFC. After that, he was able to put it back together, beating somebody like Sam Alvey. In 2016, Sam Alvey had one of the best years. I mentioned it in the end of the year. So Smiling Sam Alvey, not only did he have one of the best years for knockout submissions or whatever, but also his post-fight speeches I'm always looking forward to. You get a win over him. I mean, I was going for Sam to win this. Elias proved me wrong, and I'm a huge fan of Elias too. So this might be a little biased, and I really try my hardest for you guys not to be biased. I know it's hard, especially when you interview a fighter and then you're excited to watch them fight or whatever. You just got to speak with them for a half hour or whatever, did a show with them. So it kind of makes you biased knowing a fighter or whatever. But, Sam Alvey, I was rooting for there. And this time, I'm not rooting against Elias. I'm not doing it again. Especially, I think it's a great fight. He's going in there against Fiera. I just expect Elias to win. I mean, of course he's going to be the huge favorite here, but I thought it would be definitely more than that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as this fight goes, the way I broke it down, I really like Ferreira in this fight. I feel like he should be able to push the pace and out grapple Elias. I mean, Ferreira's been successful on 70% of his takedowns. He, 16 of 23, he's been able to take down his opponents, which is very great. If Elias tries to take him down, Ferrer has great takedown defense. He's defended every single takedown attempt that he's faced. That's 100%. He's coming off three straight victories. Two by
Yeah.
decision, while one by submission. I
Some
mean,
tough dudes, too. That was throughout the year. I mean, I spoke with Owale Bamboje. He has a win over him last year. That's a tough dude, man, Owale. Then you got him beating Anthony Smith. I'll never forget that one either. I had Anthony winning that. Cesar freaking surprised me there. His last loss was to Jorge, and then before that to Smiling Sam. So, there's no doubt that he's fought some tough dudes, but when the competition gets tough for Cesar Fiera, he kind of chokes. We see that. I mean, he lost to CB Dalloway. He's only lost to the big names, really.
yeah, I see that, but I mean, he's got three straight wins in one calendar year. I
Yeah.
mean, that's pretty huge. I mean, yeah, Elias has a great win against Sam Alvey, who's in his own right has been fantastic in the last calendar year as well. But I feel like Ferrer should be able to push pace and out grapple him.
Yeah, he can pick
And
him apart,
for
man.
sure.
He's got power. He's good on the ground.
For sure. I mean, Elias doesn't have the greatest takedown defense either. He's only defended, about 42% of his takedowns. So, I mean, that's if he's able to get in close. If he gets in close, he should be able to out grapple him. But if Elias, stays on the outside, he's got he's got that great stamina to be able to,
Yeah,
to stay alive and in the later rounds and pick you apart.
he's only got one loss, Elias. He's only got one loss. So, um, this is going to be a tough one, and this is why I really like this. This is definitely why I understand why everybody's freaking out about this one. I'm not 100% positive Elias is going to win. I think it's going to be a tough fight. You know that he's got cardio for days, but I'm sticking with Elias here. But I wouldn't be surprised if Ferreira wins here because he does have really good Brazilian jiu-jitsu. If he does take Elias to the ground, which I kind of expect him to do here, it could be a wrap. Anything can happen. I mean, we can look at it any way. Everyone can look at it however they want. You can look into the stats. You can look at it however you want. You don't know what's going to happen. But it's going to be a tough fight. That's for sure. All right, Sam Sicilia versus Tucker. Tucker coming in here. This is his debut fight against Sam Sicilia. And a lot of people out there say that they're going to give Sam a run for his money. What are the odds on this one?
Yet another UFC newcomer on his debut. Las Vegas is giving him a minus 165 favorite tag, which is kind of crazy, being as a UFC debut. And Sam Cecilia is a plus 145 underdog.
This kid's a home favorite. They brought him into this fight as a home favorite. He's always pushing the pace in his fights. He's got great speed. His leg kicks are lethal. We're very familiar with Sam Sicilia. The one thing he's got on his side for sure is obviously him being a veteran. But you got this kid, and once again, we know what happens when people make their walk out to the octagon. It's a different animal. You're not fighting your local scene. You're not fighting the underground scene. You're fighting in the UFC. Every freaking win counts. People always say it's harder to stay in the UFC than it is to get there. Sam's hasn't been having too much luck lately. He lost his last two fights against Doho Choi, and I forgot who the other dude was that he fought. But I don't know about this one. I'm rooting for the I'm rooting for the hometown favorite on this one myself.
Yeah, me too. I think Tucker's actually one of my favorite plays on the night. The dude's electric 9-0. He's got 8 finishes. Sam Cecilia is coming off 2 straight losses. I mean, I feel another loss under his belt. He could be on his way out, so he has a lot of pressure riding on this fight. He's been finished in his last 2 fights, which gives Tucker even more advantage since he usually finishes his fights. He's got I think it's pretty much split down the middle, like 4 knockouts, 4 submissions, and 1 decision victory. This kid can beat you on his feet, on the ground. I just feel Sam Cecilia is just a little too wild with his punches. He's got a lot of power, but he's a little too wild. He comes lunging forward, and someone with speed and good counter punching, like Tucker does possess, he should be able to pick him apart. Throwing a jab, stick and move, and land just one straight right, and he could just drop him and then take advantage from there.
Well, it's not every day that this an opportunity like this will land on your lap. Come fight in the UFC against Sam Sicilia, the UFC vet, in your hometown. This is on the main card? No, right? Is this?
I mean, that's
Is this the main card or undercard?
Yeah, no, it's the main card. He's the 3rd fight from the main event, which is kind of crazy.
Isn't that freaking wild? So
then
you have that. Like, not only is it your debut, you're also trying to one up the guy before you, right? You want to please the crowd. You're a hometown guy. It's your debut. Here's the thing, though. He has to be careful in there. Sam Cecilia's got 1 punch knockout power. This kid can get overexcited. He could clip Sam, get overexcited, and it only takes 1. He doesn't have the best accuracy. It only takes 1 against Sam Cecilia. How many times have we seen that happen? So watch out. A lot of A lot of guys get overexcited when the stakes are this high. You see a lot of guys get excited if they hurt somebody, and it could count against them. So let's move forward on that. I'm going with Tucker, like I just said. You said you're going with Tucker as well here, Garrett.
Absolutely, for sure. One of my favorite plays on the night.
All right, so another fight that everyone's talking about, Johnny Hendricks versus Hector Lombard. Lombard was doing great in his last fight against Dan Henderson before getting that lethal elbow and the H-bomb. The fight right before Hendo retired. Lombard was doing great in that fight, picked him apart in the first round. And then I forgot, he fought Neil Magny as well. The same thing happened. First round, that's actually funny that we bring this up, because the same thing happened exactly to what we're hoping is not going to happen to Tucker. He got excited in there when he was fighting against Neil Magny. Neil Magny was taking the fight on short notice at the time. Really hurt him. He jumps on the opportunity, almost finishes him. The ref doesn't call it, gets saved by the bell. The second round, Lombard's arms are just gone because he was laying down the ground and pound. His arms are just numb at that point. Lost the second round and ended up losing that fight. This is a big one. You're fighting the former champ who's been having some trouble in the octagon lately. Johnny Hendricks not being able to make weight. He made weight, though, on this one, right?
Yeah, he did.
He moved up a weight class, so I hope
yeah.
he did.
So surprisingly, he was able to make weight for the first time in like forever.
Move up a weight class. I mean, that's what you got to do. You're still only 33 years old. People forget. He's still somewhat of a young guy. He looks older than he is, and he's been around for so long. I mean, he put together one of the best streaks in UFC. Like, for me as a fan watching, without looking at the UFC in whole, just like my fan career growing up as a kid through middle school to high school and college years, and now we've been seeing Johnny Hendricks for how long? As far back as I can really remember, being the champion. Losing against that in that fight against GSP, he was so upset because I thought he won that. I don't know if you saw that fight, Garrett, but after that fight, it was just it was so sad to see because GSP out of the blue just retired that night, and Hendricks was just so pissed because he really thought he won that fight. He beat the shit out of GSP and didn't have a mark on him. Then he goes in there, he beats Robbie Lawler, then loses to him again. He beats Matt Browne. But then, man, he gets in there against freaking Wonderboy Stephen Thompson, who has been doing amazing lately. He didn't know what to do in that fight. He got shook. I remember we were sitting there watching. I knew what Wonderboy can do from his last fight with the heel kick knockout. But in this fight, I was like, Johnny Hendricks, he's the big rig. He's got the power behind his punches, and we'll just mow you over. I don't think he's going to have a problem with Wonderboy. And then Wonderboy just shuts him out the way that he did. Hendricks didn't know what to do. It was like watching Rampage versus freaking John Bones Jones all over again. He had no answer to the leg kicks. He was just like, can you stop doing that? He got thrown around like we'd never seen before. He's been having trouble making weight. He's been having trouble with his gut. And it's just sad what's been going on with the dude. I mean, he's on 3 straight losses. Wonderboy, Kelvin Gastelum, and then Neil Magny. Now he moves up a weight class. He's going to be fighting Hector Lombard. If he gets this win, I'd love it. And I think he can do it at this weight class. I think he'll be more comfortable. I think he'll have a little bit of an edge over Hector Lombard. We're not really used to what Hector Lombard can do. I think he's been in this division before. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's been in this division before and then hopped back out. And now I think he's back in. But Hector Lombard has got great judo, he's got power, and he's got experience as well. This is going to be a great fight. What are the odds?
Well, as of right now, I mean, it's dropped a lot since I've seen in the beginning of the week. I mean, at one point Lombard was like a minus 150 favorite, but now it's dropped all the way down to minus 115, and Hendricks is a plus 105 underdog.
So, Garrett, again, how do the odds come about changing? They're going from the Vegas casinos, the bookies. How does that all work?
It all changes. It fluctuates depending on how, I guess, Vegas, the way their numbers work and the way people are fluctuating on betting. If you see a lot of people are betting on the favorite, it's a very heavy percentage on the favorite, and the line keeps dropping, like minus 150 down to minus 115. That's what you would call a reverse line movement. It's moving in favor of the underdog. And sometimes you might want to think about placing a bet on the underdog just because of the reverse line movement. and that's where the sharps are betting. The sharps are betting on, and the Vegas is banking on the underdog coming through because say 70% are on one side and only 30% on the other side. Vegas wants that 30%. That means they're only losing 30% of the money, but they're winning 70% of the money on the underdog, and that's what will try to fluctuate the lines, back and forth.
So in this one, like I'm gonna say, it's kind of a weird fight. I think this one's a lot closer than people really expect it to be. In my head, Johnny Hendricks should be the favorite here, but Hector Lombard also is a beast in that first round. But are you going to finish Johnny Hendricks in the first round? And like I said, Johnny Hendricks is a wrestler. He didn't come into the UFC as a striker. He came in as an elite wrestler. He needs to stick to that game plan. Hector Lombard could definitely have some trouble with Johnny Hendricks if he pushes forward and clips him. He needs to stay active in there. He's his own worst enemy sometimes. He gets into his head. He gets flustered. He needs to stick to his game plan, listen to his corner, and wrestle. Don't just stick with the hands. He tires himself out every time he does that. He thinks he's just going to load up and drop somebody because he's done it before in the past unexpectedly. So on this one, I'm rooting for Johnny Hendricks to win. It's going to be another exciting first round. We always can expect that with Hector Lombard. Man, my picks might change though, man. My pick might change on that one. But right now, I am rooting for Johnny Hendricks. So let's get into our 5-round main event, which kind of surprises people. I mean, this is kind of a crazy weight class to do a main event with 5 rounds. And we all watched what Derrick Lewis did with 5 rounds. He's a little more tentative now that he had a little more time going into a main event in his last fight. I'm going to get into a second. Garrett, what are the odds?
It's pretty close for the most part. You got Derrick Lewis at a minus 115 favorite, where Travis Browne is a slight underdog at minus 105. It's pretty much a pick 'em for the most part.
I'm just taking a sip of my old coffee. Get the Rockets going on this one. So this is an exciting one too because they're both right neck and neck with one another on the ranking. And it's never too late to come back. We know that in this fight game. Travis Browne really needs to come back. And again, if Derrick Lewis loses, there's still going to be doubters. So let's start from there. Everyone has been doubting Derrick Lewis on his rise. Same with Francis Ngannou. These two have been destroying this weight division, one guy at a time. And people are like, oh, well, he beat him. That's because he's old and washed up. He beat that dude because he's old and washed up Brazilian. This whole division is all old guys. It's all the same dudes that have been there for years. There's never much change in this division. So every time that somebody says that, I kind of giggle. Derrick Lewis, everyone doubts him still. And we saw him going in there against Roy Nelson, who has one of the most legendary chins. Wasn't able to drop him, but just picked him apart and ended up winning that fight. That was huge. I didn't know what was going to happen in that fight. Both huge dudes. For once in Roy's career, he got hit and was like, oh, shit, this dude can punch, but somehow didn't drop. This is huge for Travis Browne on the other hand as well, because if he takes out this new up-and-comer in this division, it proves that he's still one of the baddest men and that should be feared. When Travis Browne came into the UFC, he had some of the best foot movement I've ever seen for that weight class. He was dancing around like freaking Evander Holyfield, but he's been on a 2-fight losing streak. Yeah, he's on a 2-fight losing streak to 2 former champions in Verdum and Cain Velasquez. Before that, you had the eye poke with Matt Mitrione, with Matt was actually winning. He's shout out to Matt Mitrione, who's going to be fighting the GOAT tonight, Fedor Emelianenko, by the way. This was actually his last fight in the UFC, was against Travis Browne. And I don't know if you've seen the pictures or saw the fight, Garrett, but I thought Matt Mitrione's eye was popping out during that fight when I was watching it live. He had a huge hematoma right above his eye. There's a legendary picture. I'll share it with you after, in case you never saw it. So he got that one over Matt Mitrione. And then before that, he lost to Arlovsky, which was a back-and-forth haymaker battle, pretty much. One dude drops another dude, he recovers and knocks the other dude out. Back and forth. That was one of the most exciting fights I think I've ever seen in my life. And then before that, we remembered Travis Browne beating Schaub. But all the guys that Browne has lost to are former champions. Now he's going in there with Derrick Lewis. Here's the other thing, though, Garrett. Everyone is freaking out about Edmond Taverdian. That was another thing going in this fight, let's not forget. People were freaking out because of his last fight. Verdum came in there and kind of kicked Edmond Taverdian. They kind of got like a little fight or whatever. Did you catch that?
No, actually, I wasn't able to catch that.
Well. Anyway, Edmond's been getting a lot of heat lately. I know that you know that between Ronda, a lot of the fighters at his gym. If you look at their records last year, not many of them did very well at all. Actually, he lost Jake Ellenberger. He lost a couple of fighters at his gym. A lot of scrutiny. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But Travis Browne, it was rumored that he was leaving Edmond. We found out last week that that wasn't true. But he doesn't have Edmond in his corner, and I think that's going to make a huge difference in this fight. I don't know if you guys knew that yet, but yeah, Travis Browne is going to have Ray Sefo in his corner, who I've actually interviewed before, former champion. He actually still trains with like Mark Hunt, Roy Nelson. He's the president of World Series of Fighting, in case you guys didn't know that. This is going to be an exciting one to find out what happens after this, because everyone wants Derrick Lewis to hopefully soon get a title shot. Look at Derrick's last couple of fights. I mean, it really all got real for me when I saw Derrick Lewis against Gabriel Gonzaga. And once again, people were like, "Oh, well, he beat up an old, washed-up Gabriel Gonzaga." Well, Gabriel Gonzaga hits you. It's not an old Gabriel Gonzaga. This weight division is just old. His last fight wasn't really against a known dude, but before that, beating Roy Nelson, Gabriel Gonzaga. He hasn't really had much competition until this Travis Browne fight. And I think it's surprising me that everyone is favoring Derrick to win this, just because Travis lost his last two fights against former champions. What's your thoughts on all this, Garrett?
Yeah, I mean, it could go either way, but if I had to play some bets on it, I would probably lean more towards Lewis.
Probably, yeah.
I feel he has what it takes. People don't give him enough credit, even though he's on like what, a 4 or 5 fight win streak.
I've been on his side every time too, and
yeah,
for the first time, I'm really questioning him. I mean, the last time I did, like I said, was against Gabriel.
I mean, at the end of the day, these are all professionals. They're all fighting for a paycheck. I don't care who you fight against. I mean, yeah, there are better competition than others. I get that, but I mean, all these guys are fighting for their lives. They're fighting for their families. They're fighting to make ends meet. And he's mulling through these guys, and I feel he could do the same to Travis Browne. I don't think it's gonna end as early as people think it's gonna end. A lot of people think it's gonna end in the first round. My favorite bet on this card. On this fight is definitely the over 1.5 rounds. It's definitely going to go, I think, into the later round 3, round 4, and someone gets finished there for sure.
Well, what have we been seeing lately? As the competition has been getting a little harder for Derrick Lewis, we've been seeing more decisions out of him, more 5-round fights. Now you're fighting Travis Browne, and mind you, Derrick Lewis has a couple of great wins. I'm not saying that he hasn't beaten any really big names, but that fight with Roy Nelson was impressive, but that went to a decision. I think Travis Browne can do this, and I think it will be a decision, but Travis Browne's got the footwork. I'm interested to see what's going to happen, because there's a lot of people that are doubting Travis Browne in this one, and Derrick Lewis wasn't too happy about his last performance, but he wanted this fight. He wanted the Travis Browne fight. So the question is, it's not even a question. I mean, obviously he's so motivated because this is the fight that he's wanted for a while now. So, I see why everybody is picking Derrick Lewis. It might be a safer bet right now in my head, but as I look at it and as I dig up some of the older Travis Browne fights and I look at it, if he can pick up and release some of the things that haven't been working for him, like not moving your feet, staying stationary, and just getting in all-out wars. Don't sit there and trade with Derrick Lewis, obviously, right? I mean, you got
of course.
Ray Sefo in your corner who knows exactly how to corner a guy when in comparison to Edmond Taverdian. I like what it's looking for Travis. My vote is going for Travis Browne on this one, brother.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Lewis. I just feel he's gonna take one step up by getting rid of Browne here. He'll be the real deal. He'll have 6 straight wins under his belt, and
Yeah.
people will finally take him seriously, and he'll start moving up the rankings rather quickly.
Travis is the underdog though here, right? He has to be.
Yeah, by slight underdog. Not by much at all. Maybe like by like $10 at the most.
Did you watch the weigh-ins or the face-offs? Travis Brown's a little bit taller than Derrick Lewis.
Yeah, he's about 4 inches taller, but they have the same exact reach. They're both 79 inches. So even with that height, there's not much of an advantage other than being tall.
Yeah, I see Travis Brown using a lot of kicks here. We saw how easy it is for to take Derrick Lewis down. Remember in his last couple of fights, he was throwing those weird kicks. I don't know why. He was going for this kick and kept getting taken down repeatedly. I think Travis Brown's going to take him down and finish him. That's how I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to go down in the third or fourth round. That's my bet there, brother.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I have Derrick Lewis knocking him out in the third round.
I can't wait, man. I'm so excited. It's weird that it's on a Sunday night. I mean, we have a great weekend right now. We have Bellator Saturday night, which is tonight. Right now, right now it's 1:37 on the East Coast, February 18th, 2017, and tonight we got Bellator, which is free, with the greatest of all time, Matt Mitrione, who for years, guys, for years, as far back as I've been an MMA fan, Fedor Emelianenko was always wanted in the UFC to see how he'd match up against some of those guys. I mean, we don't have Pride anymore, so we got Risen, but it's not enough. We want to see him fight some elite guys. Matt Mitrione signs to Bellator, so there's a UFC guy. Now they signed Fedor Emelianenko, and they set that fight up, and I think it's brilliant. Bellator is going to be pulling in some big numbers. They even did a funny skit with Adam Carolla about Fedor's sweater. I don't know did you catch that, Garrett?
No, actually, I didn't. I did not either.
I'll share it with you after the show. But guys, make sure you're following me on Twitter at Pure Evil MMA. Garrett, what's your Twitter, brother?
My Twitter is Garrett K MMA. I'll spell that out once again. It's GARRETT MMA.
So as we wind down towards the end of the show, man, it's just been an exciting week. I'm ready for the fights tonight. I'm going to be live tweeting as well. I do that every event. I'll probably be on the MMAcommunity.com, guys. Go check that out. Great community over there. Make a little profile. I'll be making my bets as well on Tapology. I'll be doing my UFC Pick'em because on the Pure Evil MMA podcast, we have a contest on there. Every time there's a UFC event, if you want to be part of the Pure Evil MMA UFC Pick'em League, where you can make your own predictions, you go around, you go by the round, you go how they're going to finish it, and obviously what fighter you're going for. So they score it, and we do announcements and stuff like that. I have a whole segment for it on the podcast. You can get your name shout out on the show. But if you want to play some money on it, Garrett, where are you putting $5 down on it?
Five Dimes is definitely by far the best sports book online. Great odds. The only site that you're able to parlay prop bets, and that's where I usually do all of my my betting for sure.
Are they paying you, brother?
No, of course.
It's the best.
I got you.
It's the best. No, but for real, there's sites that will sponsor shows to do the odds and stuff for them and say that, oh, we pick on the show, this is what we're doing. We should totally look into that, man.
Well, definitely for sure. I mean, I'll promote them all day because, like I said, they're the only book that I know that you could place parlays on prop bets, which is great. I mean, like, if you place $5 with some of these lines on some of these props, you can win easily like thousands of dollars if you get lucky enough, for sure.
So if I'm someone listening to the show right now, if I'm out there listening to the podcast, gearing up for tomorrow night's fights or tonight's fight, depending on when they're listening to this, they got $5 in their bank account that they can spend, they can waste. That's all they need, right?
That's all I need. Actually, they can invest $1 on a play. I mean, they have to deposit a minimum of, I don't know if it might be 25 or 50 on Five Dimes. To be honest with you, I think it's 50. I usually do like $100 deposit. I'm not sure what the minimum is, I think it's $50, but you can break that up into 50 bets, $51 bets if you really, really wanted to, and you can keep that in and roll it over to the next UFC event or whatever you want to do with it. But you can place, I think even a quarter, 25 cents on a bet on 5 times. I haven't done it, but I think you can actually do it. I mean, it's always worth a shot.
What has been your payout for everybody that's been listening? Listen to your predictions. I mean, in the past couple of months or whatever. I mean, how much money have you won from putting a couple dollars here and there down on fights?
I usually try to cash out. I cash out at least a couple $100 per event for sure. Usually my best events are like 500 plus. I don't try to bet more than what I can afford. That's why I try to stress to everybody. I'm not one that goes and lays thousands of dollars on plays. But if you have the money, then by all means do what you got to do. But I place bets where I'm comfortable, and what I'm comfortable with, I have my 1 unit play is $100. If I have $100, I'm gonna place that 1 unit on who I think is definitely gonna win, and then I go from there.
So, all right, brother, I had another great time talking with you. I hope that all of our listeners out there got all the information they needed and had a blast listening to Pure Evil MMA Odd Show. Remember, guys, subscribe down below, iTunes, Podbean.com, and YouTube. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, FrontProofMedia.com. Behave yourselves.